the defense team now in the Derek Chauvin case is seeking a new trial after that conviction. It was just 2 weeks ago that the former Minneapolis police officer was convicted of killing George Floyd, as you heard Judge Cahill say, on all 3 counts. Joining us now to talk about the trial and its place in history is the special prosecutor who won the case. We are so honored to have Mr. Jerry Blackwell join us here on Start Your Day. Thank you for joining us. Once again, we are honored to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to see you all. So good morning.
Hey, I got to get right to the news. Chauvin's lawyer, as expected, the appeal process, asking for a mistrial, probably something that everybody saw coming. Everybody knew this was going to happen. But I want to get your thoughts on what they are arguing and how you plan on handling it.
You know, the papers just came in yesterday afternoon, and I haven't even read them all yet, truth be told. I was expecting that they'll be asking for a new trial. There'll be some grounds for asking for the new trial, and obviously mistrial is where they were going to go. So I haven't read it to know what specifically they are citing or even what supposedly the jury did that was misconduct. I do understand there's some pointing to juror misconduct. Whether it relates to Mr. Mitchell or not, who's been in the news, juror 52. That I'm not sure. I don't think he's referenced in the papers either. So we'll have to wait and see. I would not comment too much on anything that the court still has yet to consider in deference to the court and the process. But I have not read fully all their papers yet. I will today.
And so just for people who are just joining us, Mr. Mitchell, juror in the case, who has been, speaking out, doesn't seem like he's saying anything out of the sorts, but he was seen from a Facebook post, an old post, wearing that shirt at a March on Washington anniversary. There's the picture. Knee on our necks is the reference. And so we'll see. That is not specifically, as you mentioned, referenced in the defense's appeal, a request for a new trial. I want to know about you. You volunteered for this case. Attorney General Ellison called you up and said, you're the one. You've been in this profession for so long, but what about the pressure? Because this wasn't just a jurisdictional thing, there in Minneapolis. We were all watching this trial. The pressure, right. You had to get a conviction. Did that ever get to you? Because it didn't seem so.
I have to say, honestly, that per se didn't get to me. It was more a function of how I felt called to this in the first place. And I don't know if you've ever experienced anything you felt was a spiritual calling, where your rationality doesn't really matter. You're weighing pros and cons, doesn't really matter. You just know that this is something you're asked to do. Interestingly, I met my wife with a similar kind of impulse of just knowing. I'd never, with respect to my wife, never even met her, but saw her and knew that's who I'm supposed to marry.
Wow.
And a year later I was, and 10 years later we still are. So
there it is.
Turned out to be right. So I've learned to kind of go with that knowing when you have something that's a calling that you're supposed to do. And with respect to this one, I saw the video like everybody else did. I was shocked like everybody else was. And as an African-American man, to George Floyd was all of us, because we all experienced this sort of harsh or disparate treatment at the hands, the feet, the attitudes of police, including me. And so I felt this is something I'm supposed to be involved with. I felt I'm called to be involved with it. I don't know how. But I heard it. I heard the call. And then it was within some days of that seemingly out of the blue, I got a call from the Attorney General asking if I would be willing to be a part of the prosecution to help with this case. And given that I'd never handled a criminal case, I thought I would probably be in the background. I try cases all over the country, usually for Fortune 500 companies. And I go to some places that are considered bad places for Fortune 500 companies where people don't like them necessarily. So, but I thought I can help with the strategy for the case, themes for the case, things in the background. And as time went on, my role just kept kind of rising up until finally I was one of the trial counsel, and but not ever having been involved in a criminal case before. But I just felt like, here's what you are called to do. This is the moment. You are here for this purpose, and it may go great for you, and you get convictions, or it may not. You may end up as a quote on a T-shirt that everybody laughs at, or a meme.
Oh, no.
And but for me, it was putting your whole professional reputation on the line because I felt that's what you asked to do, so I did it.
That's what makes it so amazing. You had never tried a criminal case before. You did it pro bono. You knew the type of case it was, how many eyes were on you, how much pressure you had. Now, I know I heard you into some meditation. So how did you stay so calm, knowing that so many people were relying on you and this team to, frankly, get it right?
You know what, the meditation is a tremendous help, and I certainly advocate it, recommend it to all our peeps to learn to meditate, because we have pressures that are upon us all the time. There's some days, at the end of the day, you just feel out of sorts and you can't even put a finger on why. It's because you dealt with so many of these microaggressions that add up kind of during the day and they take the toll. So the meditation keeps you focused, kind of be on the calm space, and keeps you focused on what it is you're there to do, and helps you get rid of the stray voltage. The other thing that really did help is that the cameras in the courtroom were not right in your face. They were up around the ceiling, around the perimeters. So while you all were watching the trial, I wasn't necessarily watching the cameras. And my focus was on the 12 jurors who were sitting there. And I didn't read any of the commentary from Twitter, from Facebook, from anywhere during the trial, because I felt it would be distracting. So I just kept the focus on proving up our case, anticipating what the defense might want to argue or put on, and doing everything I could to help the prosecution prevail in that trial.
Wow, and that's laser focus. And I want to know, you said you were watching the jury. Did you make that eye contact? But before we get to that, this trial is going to be remembered for so many things. That blue wall of silence that was just shattered. It was like you had a piece of construction machinery. Let's show an example, and then let's comment after it.
You continue to apply that level of force to a person proned out, handcuffed behind their back, that in no way, shape, or form is anything that is by policy. It is not part of our training, and it is certainly not part of our ethics or our values.
I mean, that's the Minneapolis police chief on the stand there. He was not alone, but that was huge. What does it mean that so many men in uniform, women, took the stand? You were able to methodically take them through their testimony. What does that mean? And what did it mean that they testified against Derek Chauvin?
I hope it means that it's an inspiration for a new day. In the way that the police themselves address issues of police misconduct. I wish the police would simply take a page from my profession, because lawyers do not hesitate to get on television and criticize other lawyers every night.
Yeah.
In fact, you could pick a different set of 100 every night for your whole lifetime and never run out with lawyers ready to criticize lawyers. But I think if the police will accept that being critical of bad policing is good for good policing, it would be a new leaf. I mean, Chief Arredondo, who you just saw there on the camera, was a hero in my view. It was courageous in terms of what he did. It was just in terms of what he did. It was ethically right. And he deserves a lot of credit for it. I credit the breaking of that blue wall of silence overwhelmingly to Chief Arredondo, and as well as to Attorney General Ellison, who had the foresight to engage it. Understanding how important it is for regular citizens to hear from the police if you're criticizing the police. What do the rank and file police officers say that a reasonable police officer should have done under the circumstances? So I thought it was really important to the trial. I hope that it's an inspiration for other good police officers to speak up, that evil flourishes when good people say nothing and do nothing. And when the good officers say nothing and do nothing, it perpetuates all the bad, evil stuff that we just saw. So I applaud Chief
Yep.
Arredondo, and I hope others will follow suit.
Absolutely. We hope that happens. And plus the George Floyd Policing Act, we hope that gets done as well. We'll talk about it in just a second. But I want to talk about that. The police did the right thing. Of course, you obviously had the footage, the 9 minutes and 29 seconds in this case. You put on an amazing case, by the way. But was there ever a point where you was like, well, I'm a little nervous about this? Was there ever a point in the case where you was like, things might be turning the wrong way?
I have to say no. There wasn't that point. It was a case that we thought through a great deal, not just in terms of what the offense ought to be, but even what the defense is going to be in response. And to put on a case, it takes a lot of the venom from what I thought would be the sting of the defense to not give them a free kick at the goal. So the bystanders testified early on first were, to me, phenomenal, courageous, overwhelmingly young people. And you might remember Mr. McMillan, who was in his 60s. I called him the mayor because he got involved, as he said, just because he was being nosy. And all of us, come from neighborhoods with somebody like that in it. And they were kind of regular folks who, I have to say, I think the Lord used as an extraordinary example to everybody of what it means to care for a fellow human, and that they put themselves in harm's way and even dared to get into good trouble, and they didn't have to. They didn't know George Floyd any more than they knew me or any of you, either of you. They just responded to his basic humanity. So I thought that was, they were incredible, and they were very important to the humanization of the whole case. If I gave this case sort of an overarching theme, it would be that the humanity that ought to unite all of us is greater than any of the ideas that divide us, than any of them. And racism is an idea. Blue Lives Matter is an idea. The blue wall of silence is an idea. And we were going to leapfrog over all those ideas to connect on a human level. The bystanders, their humanity that the jurors could relate to. George Floyd, his humanity that the jurors could relate to. You don't get to talk about somebody suffering from a drug addiction as though it's a different kind of a human being, a lesser kind, who deserves to be abused and mistreated, and stomped on and choked to death. We're not going to allow that. We're going to have the jurors appreciate George Floyd's struggle with drug addiction in the same way they do when drug addiction affects affluent white communities, as something that needs treatment, that needs our understanding, that needs our care. So all of that, to me, was sort of baked in to how we're going to approach this case, because I was anticipating how the defense was going to approach this case, and it was the opposite of that. It would have been the objectification of all concerned.
That's what made it so brilliant.
Attorney Blackwell, all of that came through. It's one thing to outline that, but to tell the story of George Floyd that final day, it came through to all of us sitting at home watching. So clearly the jury got it too. But you talked about the humanization, again, the witnesses, the very youngest, the girlfriend, all of it, the drug history, the way you played it. But didn't you have to be careful? 9 minutes, 29 seconds that brought you into the case, that fate, and stopped all of us in our tracks. If you played too much of it, or you showed, too much, played to it, didn't you have to be careful about that? Because at the end of the day, it was difficult to watch.
Definitely. I mean, I think that's, to me, a very good point and strategically very correct. You might remember in the opening statement, I was relatively flat in the opening statement. And I was flat on purpose. I didn't do a lot of pooping. There wasn't any hollering. There wasn't any signifying, none of it. And that was deliberate, because I felt that the worst thing we could do as a prosecution is to try to overplay it, to try to gild it. So that would turn jurors off. And that video was so shocking and it's so stunning in of and by itself that I didn't need to add any invective to it. I didn't need to add any vitriol. What I need to do is just be the dressing and let it be the main course. And that was intentional. You know, there was a concern that if you overplayed that video, it may desensitize jurors. But I can tell you, with the gazillion times I have seen it, never once have I been desensitized to just the pain and anguish of this human being going from living to dead right before your eyes. And as well as you know from the trial, we came back to the video repeatedly showing snippets because even though you saw it, there are things you didn't see until you slow it down, until you point out, if I wanted to show you, for example, here is where he's having an anoxic seizure. That is a seizure that is caused by low oxygen damage to the brain. It's involuntary, he's unconscious. I want to show that. I have to slow it down and show you where that is. Here is where the life has finally gone out of him when you see his eyes flicker. This was the end.
Wow.
Here is what we refer to as agonal breathing, the unconscious breathing when he really is gone, and it's simply the body's reflex. So it is, you know, slowing it down to show you in the video which things are happening when. And it was very important to medical causation to be able to see those things because it either ruled in certain possibilities for why he is dying, and it ruled out others. So it was important to be able to slow it down and show parts of that video again and again, just so the jurors could see what I saw and to break it down so they could understand.
Attorney Blackwell, we're going to let you go.
Go ahead, Mike.
And we want to let you go. We got some time. Real quick, though, because him being convicted meant something. Him being taken away in handcuffs, that meant something. And hopefully, once again, that will lead to Congress passing what's right, and that's the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. But I want to ask the last question about you because we want to hear more about you. You've been referred to, and we've talked about it, kiddingly, of course, about you being a modern-day Johnny Cochran. I wonder what life has been like for you in the last 15 days since that verdict.
What life has been like for me since the verdict has been surreal. And in the sense that I feel that I come to walking around in a mask, to walk down the street, and when people stop you to ask, "Are you Jerry Blackwell?" And I'm like, "Who?" and want to take pictures, that sort of thing, which I'm not used to, and which I just never would seek out anyway. But I really am happy to see just so many people who are enthused, who are given hope by the verdict, who are inspired by the verdict, and if I'm a symbol of it for them, then fine. I don't kind of wear it in my heart, even if it's on my sleeve. It's not defining. I still, you know, I grew up watching Popeye, the sailor, and his quote was, "I am what I am." And I think that applies to me. I simply am what I am. And so I'm happy that people are inspired. But I do want to say this sort of last thing, because I have heard people talking about this verdict being an inflection point, that it is going to sort of turn the tide in criminal justice, equal justice for Black people. And I want to encourage us all to have a realistic perspective on what racial progress is really all about. I mean, I don't believe in my view, inflection points. I think that is to me, it's as unrealistic as separate but equal being equal, colorblind meritocracy, a post-racial society. All those kinds of things are not real. All that there ever really is making the progress we can every single day. That equal justice, racial justice does not roll like a wheel. It moves like a brick. And you have to flip it over end by end, because the landscape is always full of social and moral inertia that we have to fight against all the time. And you can either curse the opposition and the inertia, or you use that same energy to be a light in the darkness, or to take your hand to the brick and flip it one more time, because that's all we can ever do. And so is the verdict meaningless? Absolutely not. It's flipping the brick. And what should happen next? Flip it again, because that's what each of us can do. And to be realistic in that sense, there is none of this after hundreds of years of getting us to this point that we're going to find a silver bullet where there's one thing. There's a reason why it's going to be easier going forward. It's simply not true. You just put the energy into flipping that brake one more time, and all of us can do that in some way every single day. Flip the brake, flip the brake.
Yes.
Well,
Keep on
we're
flipping that brick.
gonna flip the brick. You have inspired us. You've inspired so many of us. I want a book. I want a movie. Let's get Will Packer on the line, because this meant a lot to us. And I understand what you're saying, because there's two schools of thought. There are the people who say throw the whole system out. It's dirty, it's nasty, it's bad, defund it. And then there's what you did, a blueprint for more, and I hope it does serve as that throughout this country and beyond, because we can get this done. Special Prosecutor Jerry Blackwell, I hope you'll stay visible and out front. I know your wife probably didn't sign up for this, but hey, 10 years in, things are going well. So hope enjoy it. And please come back. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for starting your day with us right here on BNC. We appreciate you.
Thank you all much.
Hero. That's what we'll call
seeing
the
my
book.
good peeps.